What's up, Giants fans? Welcome to the Pockets Week 4 reaction to the Giants win over the Chargers of 21-18. Now, this one is bittersweet. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that's exactly how we're going to break this one down. We got some good with Jaxson Dart. We got some bad, which is some more of the usual things, but then we got some real ugly news with the sad news about Malik Nabers. But let's start things off just going over the game and how things sort of went down in this one. So, first of all, looking at the core stats for this game, you have the Giants who played cleaner in this game. We had far less penalties, as they had 14 for 107 yards, and we had 8 for only 43. So perhaps some of that is luck, but hey, we had a bad game when it came to playing clean against the Cowboys, so it's good to see that rolling towards our favor in this one. And we also had 0 turnovers compared to the Chargers, 2 turnovers. So that was definitely key in the Giants winning this game. We were far better on third down. As you can see, 7 for 15, and the Chargers were 4 for 12. And as we break down more things about the game, you'll start to understand how that happened. And the Giants got to the red zone more often and converted more. The Chargers could not get the ball past the 20-yard line. You could see 0 for 1. They only got there once. All of their touchdowns in this game were big plays. And the one time they got into the red zone, they couldn't punch it in, whereas the Giants were able to get there 5 times. Now, some of that having to do with turnovers as well, but we converted twice in the red zone. So that was definitely key. And then just protecting the football, the run game, and the defense allowed us to dominate time of possession. You can see 35-28 to 24-32 Giants with 11 more minutes of possession in this game, which is huge. So that's just kind of the overview. The Giants had the lead for pretty much this entire game. There was a time where it was 13-10 and things were getting a little close, but then the Giants were able to capitalize with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. So that's sort of how the game went down. It never really swung back into the Chargers' favor. And now let's look at some of the good. So, in this game, Jaxson Dart made his first start. And how did he look, right? Everyone's going to look at the stats and all that kind of stuff. But let's just use the eye test real quick. To me, just like in the preseason, he looked very confident. He looked very composed and very sure of all of his decisions. He did not hesitate with whatever he did. He ran the ball a lot in this game. That was a big part of the game plan. But overall, I would say for a rookie quarterback in his first start, getting the win after losing his number 1 wide receiver, I would say that looked pretty good. Definitely very mobile and showing some of that escapability in the pocket, some of that strength running the ball. And then, of course, some of the arm talent, zipping throws over the middle and launching some of those deep balls, although we didn't really hit on that, but it's nice to see him taking those chances. So I think he's got a strong mindset that's going to take him further than any of the talent that he's bringing to the table as a prospect. And so I think Jaxson Dart looked pretty good. Only 111 yards passing, 13 for 20, and 1 passing touchdown, which was even just a little flip to Theo Johnson. So, calling that a passing touchdown is, a bit of a stretch in my book, but, we love to see it. And then on the ground, he had 10 for 54, as you can see right here. 10 carries for 54 yards and a rushing touchdown. And the rushing touchdown he had was at the very start of the game, and it went for a pretty good distance, 15 yards. It was a QB draw, and it was just nice to see a Giants quarterback show some speed and, really punish the defense for leaving that lane open. That was really nice. So this kind of leads into my next point. I really liked the offensive game plan for this game. It really hurt that Nabers got injured, but they didn't fall apart after that. They still put together some scoring drives, capitalized off of the Chargers' mistakes, and that's just all we've been asking for as Giants fans. Scatterboo in this game was a total workhorse, 25 carries in this game, and a total of 2 receptions, but I'm pretty sure he was targeted just a little more than that. Two receptions for 11 yards. You see he only had 79 yards on the ground, 3.2 average. But you can see when you have a mobile quarterback and a threat at running back, usually the defense is going to focus on one of them. It seemed like they were definitely more focused on Scatterboo. They had saw what he had done so far this season, and you see that opens up Dart. 54 yards. Now one of those is a QB draw, like we said. So bringing up that yards per carry. But just the fact that they were both contributing on the ground, combined, it's more like 130 yards, 133 between the two of them, and one rushing touchdown. So if you get that from those two every game, that's pretty solid, right? That's no Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry or anything, but it's definitely much better than what Russell Wilson was bringing to the table. And I like that. That's how we kind of leaned with our offensive game plan. Like I said, when Nabers went down, Scatterboo, he got 25 carries. He really became the offense, and revolving that around Dart and him moving the chains and chewing the clock. Defensively, Joe Alt left this game early with an injury, and their offensive line was already banged up, missing guys like Rashawn Slater with the Achilles tear from early in the season, and some of their interior guys were banged up too. And the pass rushers made the most of it. We had, for QB hits, Carter had 5, Burns had 4, and Kayvon had 3. So you can see really attacking that weakness with the tackles. This is what we've been waiting for, 12 QB hits combined between them. Kayvon and Burns both had a sack, so you like to see that too. And Dexter Lawrence intercepted a pass that he batted up at the line of scrimmage and almost returned it for a touchdown, which was awesome to see. I know it wasn't a sack or some kind of pressure, but it's just nice to see Dex making big plays again. Kind of everyone on this defensive line getting involved, with the exception of the second defensive tackle, which is still somewhat of a weakness that we're looking to fill. But this is something we said early on in the season, even previewing the season, is that when I said we could win seven games this year, the reason that I thought, even with Russell Wilson starting, and even assuming Nabers would be there, obviously, that when we inevitably verse some teams with some banged up offensive lines, they could be a much better team than us. Like this Chargers team, probably a better overall roster than us. Obviously, they have Justin Herbert, all the weapons on offense, but they just suffer. They lose both of their tackles, and this game gets flipped on its head. And they can only muster 18 points against us, and they turn the ball over twice. So this is the sort of way the Giants are going to stumble into wins this year. You just keep an eye out for when the opposing team has a banged-up offensive line, and it's a good bet to say that the Giants will at least cover. So great to see the defensive line making big plays and being disruptive as we've needed them to be to win games. Andrew Phillips also caught an interception, so he's sort of redeeming himself based off of some of his poor coverage and penalties. Muasau has looked pretty solid, especially in this game, filling in for McFadden, and it was nice to see him playing well. And, the Giants got ahead in this game, and they stayed ahead. That, involved the run game from the offense, the pressure from the defenses, forcing 4 for 11, 4 for 12 on third down. That really told the story for how this game went. The Giants weren't too explosive on offense. They didn't have Scatterboo go for a 50-yard touchdown like Hampton did, or we didn't have our number 2 wide receiver go for a 30-yard touchdown like Quentin Johnston. But the Giants got ahead, and they stayed ahead with the consistent pressure and the consistent run game. Now, for the bad. We talked about the good. Let's talk about the bad. The tackling and the big play on the defense is still an issue. As I mentioned, Omari and Hampton, he did have a 50-yard rushing touchdown. So this 128 off 12 carries is really more like 154 on 11, which is still really good yards per carry. But 10.7 yards per carry and a touchdown is just not something that we need to have. We let Justin Herbert scramble up the sideline for a 24-yard gain. So containing guys out of the backfield after we've been covering is still a problem. Quentin Johnston hit a really nice double move on Deonte Banks, who bit, and then Dane Belton couldn't get over the top in time. Herbert threaded the needle. It looked like cover 3, but they both kind of failed on that assignment there of stopping the deep ball there, because it looked like that was both of their assignments, was the deep third. So that was disappointing, but that's a weakness in our defense that teams are going to continue to attack. And then Hampton, like I said, breaking off that big run, it's the tackling, and containing him out of the backfield. He was getting so many yards after contact, and the Giants really got to button that up on defense. And then Tyler Nubin on that same Omari and Hampton run. He was playing deep safety. I still don't know why we don't, just try to keep Holland back there at all times and kind of have Nubin be the box safety. There's certain reasons why you might not do that. You might not want to tell the defense what you're doing, but what we do know is Nubin has struggled with his pursuit angles, and that's exactly what happened on this play. The Chargers pulled 2 offensive linemen. It looked like Nubin got lost in the traffic a little bit, because as soon as Hampton hit it through the kick out on the corner, because we were in man coverage, as As soon as he hit that kick out, if you watch the end zone camera, you can see that Nubin is a couple yards inside of where Hampton is. So he takes that deep angle to try to crash down on it, and he sees him picking up speed and can't get around to him, and he runs up the sideline for a touchdown. Hampton is a big guy, but he is fast when he gets going. And Nubin, as smart as he can be, we saw that athleticism of his get exposed a bit by Hampton. So we got to figure out how to use him properly, I think, and put him in better position. I don't think he's a deep safety. He's not like Xavier McKinney where he might lack some speed, but he can still play back there. I think he's still got to develop into that role, and we should try to keep him in the box. Some more bad. Dart was hit 9 times and sacked 6. So there were 1 or 2 of those sacks that he maybe could have gotten out of, but he created and extended on some other plays. So the offensive line, as we know, is still, not a strength of the team. Even with Andrew Thomas in, it's just kind of functional. And we saw the run blocking improve in this game, so that was evidence of that. Dart was still able to, get some passing plays off, but I don't see him breaking like 250 passing yards unless if this offensive line really clamps up. Because this Chargers pass rush is not that insane. I mean, the defense is great, but the pass rush is not that crazy. Maybe things will improve as the weeks go on. Dart will read the offensive line better and better. But, this is, like I said, this is just the first game. And then finally, the weapons. So we mentioned already that Nabers was injured in this game. Outside of Scadaboo, who even wasn't that efficient, who he did do his job, but he wasn't that efficient, the weapons really struggled. I mean, you look at this here, we got Darius Slayton, 3 for 44. I mean, that's decent yards per catch. Theo Johnson had that flip pass for a touchdown. That only went for like 3 yards. So other than that, he was like 2 for 14. Bellinger 1 for 13, Scadaboo 2 for 11. We're going to be running a lot of plays, but at the same time, almost like running chew clock. It puts us in a tough spot because this offense is designed to be fast and to run a lot of plays. It is, but it seems it's in our best interest as a football team to play slow and to lean on this defense. So we've got some things to figure out with the coaching staff about how we want to approach that. Can we have an effective, fast-paced offense, or should we be dinking and dunking it this way and leaning on Dart's legs? We're going to have to see, but I think it would be a great idea for the Giants to try to sign a free agent wide receiver. I know that they're supposed to hold a workout with Henry Ruggs, who's available to play in the NFL again, so that could be a good addition for the Giants. I just don't want to wait and see if like Bo Collins is the guy. He'll have opportunities to step up, and so will some of the other young guys, but if we want to win some games, it's like every game you wait to make that addition or that trade, it's, you're just wasting time. You kind of know you can't replace Malik Nabers with what you already had. And finally, let's talk about Malik Nabers. Let's talk about the ugly. It was feared in the game that through a non-contact injury, Malik Nabers suffered a torn ACL, and that turned out to be true. I kind of knew this was going to be the case as soon as they started saying it. If you know anything about like these kinds of injuries, especially around the knee, the certain tests that they can do are very, very telling just off of, moving the knee with their hands of whether or not the ligament is there or not, whether or not it's stopping you from moving the knee. And it'll move that much more, and it'll be pretty obvious to, especially the professionals at this level that, yeah, he tore his ACL. So I kind of knew yesterday that this was going to be the case. This is very sad and upsetting news. We didn't even get Nabers and Dart for more than like a quarter. So it really stinks because it looked like the Giants were going to be able to, and we beat the Chargers without Nabers. So really looked like we were going to have something here. And maybe we could actually win 8 or 9 games with this team, which would be crazy. But it would seem more believable with Malik Nabers in there, right? But now that he's not here, what does this mean for the Giants this year? Like, seriously, we have all these positives with the new quarterback in Dart, and the defense is really turning it up and taking advantage of opportunities, but we lost our best weapon on offense. So what does this mean? Well, I think for the rest of the season, we are going to rely on Dart and Scadaboo in the running game, as we did in this game. The offensive line is still a liability, but you can negate that by removing one of the players you need to block when running read options. So that really is our best chance. But what's going to happen is teams are going to catch on really fast to that we can't do much outside of that. So if they play really fundamentally sound and defend the read option, limit it, no big gains through it, they can really make our offense seem like a liability again, which it almost was in this game. Towards the end, they really flatlined. It wasn't really that great, but yeah, the defense can still keep us in games with that type of offense, but our ability to punish teams offensively is severely hindered with the loss of Nabers. So for now, other guys are going to have to step up until we possibly find another wide receiver who can operate as our number one. So speaking of laying out this way the Giants will look, let's look at their schedule. Next week they got the Saints. That should be a win. I'm feeling pretty good about the Saints. But then you got the Eagles even though they aren't looking that great, they are still the best team in football. Everyone's still healthy. I know A.J. Brown's not happy right now, but yeah, they are still far better than us and far more talented and will dominate us in the trenches, and that's why we will lose. The Broncos, likely the same deal. I mean, they don't look wonderful this year, but they still have far more defensive talent compared to our offense, and I don't know that our defense is going to be able to hold their offense back for enough of this game, although there is a slightly better chance, I think, of us winning this game now with how Dart looked. Eagles, I already talked about it. 49ers, I think we can win this game. I think we can. The Jaguars just beat them, and they've got issues of their own. And they lost Nick Bosa, so they're not going to be able to expose our offensive line quite the same as they would have been able to. So that's promising. The Bears, they beat the Cowboys quite handedly, and they look pretty solid. But I think with the way Caleb Williams still is struggling with accuracy, I think the pressure we could generate could really throw off their offense and perhaps give us a shot to win this game. So I feel actually kind of similar to the 49ers where, they're a lot more brand new, but they have more than the 49ers. So I kind of view them on the same tier of difficulty when facing them. The Packers likely loss. I mean, they tied the Cowboys, but that was a really fluky game. So I'm not going to say anything like we have a good chance to beat them. Lions, it's the same thing, except they look even better. The Patriots, we have a good chance to win that game. They're starting to get better and better, but we will too as Dart plays more and more. And I think we're in very similar spots as franchises. Totally give us a shot to win that one. Commanders, probably not, especially without Nabers. Vikings, probably not. It's the same sort of deal. The Raiders, we can win that game. I think so. And then the Cowboys, that's kind of a coin flip is the way I see it right now. So the Saints is a game we definitely should win. I think we could potentially be favored versus the 49ers, the Bears, the Patriots, and the Raiders. So that's 5 games that we should win or that we could potentially be favored in. And then only really 3 more games, Broncos, Commanders, Vikings, where I feel like there's a slight chance we could win, like potentially cover. But the rest of the games, Lions, Packers, Eagles, and Eagles again, that's 4 games where I'm almost certain that we're going to lose. So standing at 1-3, if we beat the Saints next week, we're 2-3. And then we've got 4 games I'm almost certain we're going to lose. 4 games I think we have a decent chance to win. So you probably split those and you go 2-2 or 3-1 on the games that you should win, 0-4 on the games you should lose. So depending on how that Vikings, Commanders, and Broncos slate of games goes for us, I'd say at this point we're looking at 6 wins, maybe 7. You never know what's going to happen, how this team is going to develop, or how we could potentially suffer more injuries. But I think overall, things are looking better than they were when we had Russell Wilson in. Looks like Brian Daboll made the right decision by putting Jaxson Dart in. It did look like he helped out the offense and allowed more of the playbook to be available. I would like to see more in the passing game. It's going to depend on the offensive line. The offensive line, just like for Russell Wilson and just like for Daniel Jones, is going to have to be there for Jaxson Dart. And now without Malik Nabers, I feel like teams are really going to send the pressure and dare us to beat them with our wide receivers deep. So that's going to be the struggle for the rest of the season. Looking good with Dart right now. Have a promising feeling about the future. But it really sucks that Malik Nabers had to get injured. So that's too bad, but overall, I'm feeling all right. Giants got their first win of the season. I'm feeling pretty happy about it. How did you feel about Jaxson Dart's first start in the NFL? Did you feel like he played well, or did you feel like he got off easy with this Chargers offense missing both of their offensive tackles? Are you excited for the rest of the Jaxson Dart era? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like on this video. It's really going to help push it out to more Giants fans like yourself, or if you're just an NFL fan that wants to know what's up with this Malik Nabers injury or Jaxson Dart. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe, and you can follow along this season with me. Thank you all so much for watching my Week 4 reaction to the Giants' first win of the season, and I hope I see you in the next one. Peace out.